Hello, welcome to the Housing Sector Podcast. Today I am speaking to Sherrelle Collman. I put out a message on LinkedIn saying, when I started the housing sector, it was all about building that gap, raising some of the issues, talking honestly about them, but it's also about let's highlight some of the things that we are doing that are being done really well. And one of the things that has always concerned me is as hard as it is for people to find suitable housing, what happens when that call is made in the middle of the night when you've got a mum with kids fleeing domestic abuse? So I put out a message on LinkedIn and I received a few replies. Thank you very much to everyone, and we will be revisiting this topic. But the one that really stuck a chord with me was Sherrelle Collman. Sherrelle, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so. Before we get started, what is your background where you're working? I'll let you know if you want to name them. It's up to you.
Okay, so previously I was the managing director for Caridon Foundation, which is a supported accommodation provision for vulnerable adults. Within the cohort of clients that we was working with, there was females that were fleeing domestic violence, along with males that were also fleeing domestic violence. I also have a bit of lived experience. So I myself was was a victim of domestic violence for over an 11-year period. So that's where my passion and drive and ambition comes from, to obviously support those that are fleeing domestic violence.
And thank you for your honesty there. And it's difficult. Conversations can be difficult, and by having them, we lend support to other people who need to have these conversations. So let's think about it. So what happens when you've got someone who is fleeing domestic abuse, perhaps with children? What are the options available to them?
I mean, you can call the domestic violence helpline, and then they will put you in touch with women's refuges. But it is so the support's quite fragmented. So, there's like multi-agencies that are involved in the support of this individual. But in the middle of the night, because there's limited accessibility, refuges are quite scarce, marginalized groups are excluded. For example, if you're a female that works, you're in full-time employment, it's quite difficult for you to access refuges because you would have to pay £500 per week rent for a refuge space, which is quite high. So I just feel like it's really difficult to access refuges.
And you went through that yourself because you were professional at working, weren't you?
Yeah. So with me, I believe that my abuse was over a long period because of these issues. So because I knew I was working, and I knew that there'd be challenges around that, I kind of stayed in a relationship longer than I should have, and I kept making excuses on my behavior. My ex-partner's behavior will change, and he's just going through a bad patch. And then you also feel quite embarrassed of your situation because, as you can imagine, I was a managing director of a supported accommodation provision, helping this cohort of clients, but I'm in the same position myself. So you kind of feel really isolated. I remember when I broke up with him, and when you break up with a perpetrator, that's the period that you're most at risk of, you're at risk because the control's gone. So I was getting stalked. He was coming to my home address, hiding in the garden, hiding behind trees, or just knocking the door, like just trying to intimidate me. And I went to the local authority, and there was just like no help. There was no help. I tried to get a non-molestation order, a stalking protection order. I'd have to get a solicitor. The solicitor costs were over £2,000. I'm working. So it was really, really difficult. So I feel that there needs to be more support for women that are actually in employment, and just women and men in general that are in domestic violence situations.
Because imagine part of the coercive behavior is them keeping control of your finances.
I mean, yeah, that is part of the coercive control behavior. In my situation, it wasn't that. It was more emotional. You can't wear this, you can't wear that. If I was going out, I'd get called 5 times, like 5 times within 5 minutes. So it was ringing, I wouldn't answer, ringing, I wouldn't answer. It was trying to turn me against my family and my friends, isolating me. Then there was obviously a bit of physical abuse as well. But I wasn't financially controlled. But there are women that are.
So for them to suddenly have to find money for a lawyer, solicitor, refuge,
Exactly. Yeah, it would be quite difficult. So that's like a further barrier to, escape your situation.
yeah. So, what can housing associations do? Do they need to be on the lookout? Because surely they could safeguarding, are there things they should be aware of?
I mean, there are safeguarding protocols. I just feel that housing associations, local authorities, doctors, um, all need to be working together in partnership. I feel that's the most important thing, and be able to pick up the signs, because my workplace, they didn't know what I was going through for the whole duration. And my abuse started very early on. I would say it started within the first 6 months of the relationship. I feel that most survivors are quite good at hiding the signs of what's actually going on. But because I'm quite aware, I'm quite good at picking up the signs. So, I look at some of my staff members who I believe might be in that kind of situations behavior. Um, because what I was finding I was doing personally is you feel that you have to justify your every action. So I'll give an example. Someone at work went missing in their lunch hour. They took a longer lunch period, but they're always on the phone at work. Um, so when they was asked, where have you been? They start taking pictures. I was in the toilet and take a picture that they was washing their hands in the toilet. To me, that's a telltale sign of abuse, because many victims feel that they need to justify their actions to their abuser. So if the abuser's phoning the person's phone and they're on a work call, they would screenshot that they're on a call and send it on WhatsApp to say, look, I'm on a call, please believe me. So I feel that we need to look for the telltale signs.
And surely the environment that you're in, where you're working, does it
Yeah.
naturally attract people who have been through that situation to then want to support others?
Yeah, I feel like in the support field, a lot of people have had lived experience tend to work in that field. So you would find that an ex substance misuse misuse person will tend to go to like a drug agency and want to help someone that's, taking drugs.
But then they missed the signals that you were having, that you were sort of clearly issuing out during that 11 years.
Like I said, people that are in abusive relationships are really, really good at masking it.
It's the masking and the
It's the
hiding.
masking, yeah, because of the negative stigma that comes with it. You know, I've been guilty of it. Oh, why don't they just leave? If he's hitting you, just leave. It's not like that, because there's a lot of psychological abuse behind it. You get kind of scared. So my thing was, if I kick my ex partner out of the home, where's he going to go? Because you're so fixated on them. And then you get scared. Oh, if for years they say to you, oh, well, if you leave me, I'm going to kill you. So you generally start believing that actually, if I leave him, he's actually going to kill me. So I'm just going to have to put up with this behavior because the psychoholics, they break you down slowly, slowly, slowly.
For the record, I mean, I'm usually out of my depth on most of these conversations because I have little lived experience of it. But
Mhm.
me and my wife, we're 10 years together, 9 years married. I mean, it's an incredibly supportive and loving relationship. She does call me some names. Um, when people are in this situation, and there'll be people out there who are watching this now, you know. Rather than sort of fleeing in the night, do we have to build an action plan on the best way to get out?
Yeah, I feel that you've, in these situations, you've left in your head 6 months to a year before the relationship's over. I feel like you need to plan, have an overnight bag ready in case you need to flee in the middle of the night. Start finding out, speaking to people about, how what support's out there for you, um, and just cooperate with the external agencies that are there to help you, like the police. So that the police are they've been trained in working with people within domestic violence situations, which is really good. So I feel that you just need to be brave, speak to someone, and just start planning your next move.
And what would that next move look like?
Well, speaking like trying to go into a refuge if you can, if it's accessible. Um, it's really difficult, or move your house, stay with like a family member or a friend, someone that your ex partner doesn't know, so that you've always got something somewhere safe to go to.
Yeah.
So I had one friend um, that I was telling what was going on. So I knew that if I really needed to go somewhere, I could go to that one friend's house and he wouldn't know that I was there.
Guys, it's a whole feeling. What can housing associations and local authority do they have spare homes where they keep aside? Are they setting up refuges in communities where where they have a footprint?
So I think that there needs to be more funding. Um, I think there needs to be more training and awareness on domestic violence because the Violence Against Women and Girls Act is quite a recent thing since, the police officer killed Sarah. So I feel that the government are, you know, taking the situation quite serious now. I know that 56 million was invested for violence against women and girls. Um, I think we're going in the right step, but again, I feel like there are certain groups that are marginalized, like the Asian community, women of color, because their barriers are different. So I feel that there needs to be more awareness on other cultures, you know, um, and there needs to be more highlight and emphasis within them areas.
Yeah, and that's a difficult one to unpick as well, isn't it? Given that we have housing officers to intervene on antisocial behaviour with neighbours, what should housing associations who are sending people out into the communities, is there any way that they can be picking up on stuff? What
I,
should they be looking out for?
yeah, I feel like all housing associations, all their housing staff should be trained in domestic violence. I think that there should be dedicated IDVAs working within the housing department so that they can pick up the telltale signs and then there could be more of a robust approach in moving the survivor into safe accommodation. Like I said, it's quite fragmented at the moment. Um, there needs to be more partnership working and just more awareness, so training is a really good thing. So if your housing officers are going out into accommodation, should be able to look at body language, look at how the client, how the tenant is acting, how the male's acting, and then raise safeguarding alerts to the local authority. There needs to be more awareness in schools because a lot of children are picking up abuse within the home, um, and it might come out within their behaviour. So I think these are small things that should be done, and easy things that can be done that will make a difference in the long term.
And let's play devil's advocate for a moment, if I may.
Of
What if,
course.
as a housing association, goes, go on, we've got these housing officers, they're on barely on minimum wage. What more can we do? We're providing homes. What would
Mm.
your answer to that be?
I just feel like everybody's got a duty of care. Yeah.
Oh, great. That is excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got a duty of care. So, yeah, we all have morals and values. So let's just stand behind our morals and values. Yeah, it's not your problem. However, you're helping someone, and women die daily. I can't remember the statistics, but women die daily at the hands of an abuser. You don't really want that on your conscience, you know?
No, and those abusers usually are all known to them, aren't they? They're
Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah.
there's a link to do with housing as well. You know, men, it's women are usually the run the home. A lot of men move into women. Well, I found that a lot of my service users were living with a female in the female's home, and then the relationship broke down, and the man had to move out of that home. Sometimes men are. I feel like homelessness plays a factor in domestic violence, and I say that because some men don't have houses. They don't. They might be living at their mum's house, or so then they might find a vulnerable woman that's got her own accommodation, and then they slowly but surely move into that accommodation, the woman's house, and then start controlling her. And I I feel that there's definitely a link between men being homeless and moving into females' accommodation.
And why do the females have more accommodation? Is it because they've had previous relationships, they've got children, so they've been
Yeah, I feel like it's because they're primary carers, they've got children, or they might have a stable job and they're able to, private rent, or they might have bought their own house. I think that's why.
yeah, yeah. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, it's bloody awful to think that someone. I remember during lockdown. I
Hmm.
mean, me and my wife live in a one-bedroom flat, and I say, well, as far as I know, we get on great. I think she found me a bit. She had me out delivering food and school books quite early on, so she was glad of the gap. But I remember the headlines being, that there were lots of women whose escape was to get out of the house to go to work, and they were now finding that they were there 24/7.
Yeah,
Has that still impacted with more people working from home?
definitely. I feel that COVID definitely created. There was a number of relationship breakdowns within COVID. I feel like domestic violence, of course, increased during that period. Women that were suffering from domestic violence, well, in an abusive relationship within that period, it must have been really, really difficult for them because there's no escape. You couldn't go anywhere.
And it plays
So the
right into
control,
the
yeah,
wheelhouse of the person controlling it. Yeah.
exactly. So the control would have been quite extensive.
So, what is it that you're doing now that's supporting people? How does a day to day, a life in your day look at work?
So at the moment, I'm in the process of opening 18 bed spaces for women fleeing domestic violence or domestic abuse survivors. Um, Obviously, I can't share the location for safety reasons. Within that, I'm going to help the women rebuild their life skills, confidence building, account access to free counselling, um, group work. I feel there's going to be like a lot of group work and therapy in a therapeutic environment, because definitely for me, speaking about my previous abuse has helped. Um, it's helped me heal and recover. We're going to be doing like having fun days out and just basically supporting the client to go on to live independently in the community and basically be able to highlight risky relationships. So if they get into a new relationship, they'll be able to look for the telltale signs and not fall back into that that pattern and cycle of abuse. I want to end the cycle for that woman and just make sure that they are strong, resilient, um, and just believe in themselves and start to re-love themselves again. So I'm really excited about that. The first house goes live in 2 weeks. That's my plan.
And can you share me some information so I can put some links into the YouTube description? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, so I'll share my email after. So if anyone wants more information on the services and the bed spaces and how to get referred into the service, they can contact me directly.
Perfect. And I just want to catch, so you were saying there were telltale signs in people when they can say they form these relationships again, albeit with different people. Does that mean there is a sort of type of person who's attracted to people? I mean, we always talk about, oh, I love a bad boy or whatever. Um, are there telltale signs that people should be looking out for, and what are they?
I think deep down, um, you know, okay, this behavior is not right. So it could be something like, I don't want you to wear that dress, or that dress doesn't look that nice in you. It's too low. You, you know, you can generally see when someone's starting to be controlling. You know, I they might phone you might finish work at 5:30, and on 5:30 they call you every day on the dot. That's not caring, that's slightly controlling, or there's so much telltale signs. Um, you know, saying, "Oh, why don't you? I don't really want you to go out with your friends this weekend. Stay at home with me." Or causing an argument just before you're about to go out with your friends just to dampen your spirits. I think that those are the kind of telltale signs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? What to be? Look, you're making some great strides, and thank you for all the support you're offering to people.
Thank you. I think that the challenge is just systematic, like I've said, underfunded, fragmented services and society barriers. Um, I don't think that there's a lack of effort, but I definitely think society barriers are is a real big thing.
And what do you and your team do? Because and I often worry about this again with frontline staff within housing associations and local councils. You're hearing all these bad stories, and you're not able to do anything about it necessarily. You know someone's in danger that night, and you haven't been able to get them out. How do
It's
you
hard.
cope?
I feel like it's really hard. Like we've seen some terrible stuff. It does get quite heavy. I'm quite an empath as well, so that for me, there's never no cut off. Um, I think that with our client, we're just non-judgmental. It's really important not to pass any kind of judgment. The client that you're working with already doesn't, they've already got trust issues. So the staff work extremely hard to rebuild relationships, build up the trust, make the client feel safe, and listen. Listening is a key factor in this work. Um, but at the end of the day, when the staff go home, it's really important that they shut off and have time for themselves and not carry it home, because if you taking on all the other person's energy, um, it's going to eventually weigh you down, and then you're not going to be any good to anybody, including yourself. Within the support um, environment, there's a high level of burnout. So you see that, a lot of organizations are always recruiting for support staff because burnout is real. It gets heavy, it gets difficult. You see, you build relationships with clients, they might pass away in a heinous way. You carry in that because you always think I could have done more. So it's really important to just try and like create boundaries for yourself.
Yeah. Do you think we're becoming more? I mean, there seems to be a more of a focus now on, mental well-being, on talking about issues, on, not bottling things up and sharing. Do you think we're moving in the right way when it comes to supporting people's mental health?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the stigma against mental health is slowly going away. It's still there, but I think that a lot of organizations are now understanding about, people's mental health conditions. Obviously, the Discrimination Act is covers, people with protective characteristics. One of them is mental health. So yeah, it's good. A lot of organizations have mental health advisors and bodies within the organization. We have that. So, we've got mental health officers and buddies. So if you feel that you're, struggling, you can go and reach out to one of your colleagues and they'll be able to support you. They don't give you, we're not able to give any advice, but we can definitely point you in the right direction. While, we also have in our employment assistance program, we have Health Shield, so access to counsellors. Um, so yeah, I do think that organisations are going in the right direction. There's Mental Health Awareness Week and month. Many organisations are doing something throughout that month, bringing people together, workshops, getting people to talk about, how they're feeling. I think COVID definitely impacted people's mental health. Some people are not comfortable in being by themselves, and sitting with themselves. Um, and I think that's when mental health increased when lockdown finished.
Yeah. All right, look, that's quite a positive end there that we're moving in the right direction and that we're able to recognize some of these key triggers. Thank you very much indeed for your time today, and we'll get those
Thank you.
links in and let's have you come back on and discuss more as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to the Housing Sector Podcast. Why quite often what happens is once we wrap up the podcast and I stop recording, me and the guest go on to have a conversation, and I usually think, why didn't we include that in the call? And that happened, of course, today. Sherrelle, thank you again for appearing on the Housing Sector Podcast. We started to talk about Clare's Law.
Yeah. So Clare's Law was introduced in 2014 after Claire Wood was murdered by an ex-partner who had a known history of violence against women. Clare's Law gives people the right to contact the police to find out about the person's previous history. So if you're in a relationship and you believe that, something's not right with this guy or female, I want to know if they've ever harmed another individual in a domestic relationship. What you can do is contact 101, go to your local police station, or you can file a Clare's Law report online, whereby you ask the police, whereby the police will give you information as to whether that person's known to them for domestic abuse. You can also do that for your friend. So if you believe, that your friend or somebody, a family member or someone is in a risky relationship, you can do a Clare's Law application on behalf of them. And then once you get that information from the police, obviously you have to keep it extremely confidential. Then you've got all the facts in front of you, and that will allow you to make the decision of how you're going to exit the relationship.
Could that have the sort of backlash of the abuser go, oh, look, it's just your family ganging up. They all hate me. I make one mistake in my life.
Yeah,
And that's,
exactly. So, I mean, it will just give you power to just get out, or, to just get out because you've got the facts in front of you. And, I feel that when you see and you hear it, that actually they've done this to somebody else, you know that they're not going to change. And it just allows you to plan to, leave safely because you know what they're capable of.
Is there a characteristic here? Because I hear time and go, oh, he'll change, he didn't mean it, it was an accident. Is there a sort of mindset within people that go, I can fix this? And why are they so desperate
Yeah,
to fix it?
I feel that there's part or that plays a part. I feel that, some people do. I definitely felt like, he's going to change. If he really loves me that much, I can make him change. But the fact of the matter is, they're not going to change. They're not. You can't fix somebody. They have to change because they want to change. And that's not love. Being controlled and hurt, that's not love. You know.
So people, you can change, but you've got to change yourself. You can't have an
Yeah,
external.
you've got to want to change for yourself. I think that then I think when I did some research on the perpetrator, just to look at the makeup of a perpetrator, a lot of the perpetrators had seen abuse from an early age, so it was a learned behavior. Um, a lot of the perpetrators had, substance misuse issues. Some had mental health. Um, but I feel that then there does also need to be more work on perpetrators, perpetrate early intervention programs. So when a perpetrator is arrested for harming their partner, I think at the point of arrest, there needs to be early intervention. Um, I think that they should be put on like a perpetrator program. I know the Drive Partnership are doing some work with perpetrators. I think it should be more mandated. So if you're arrested for harming your partner, you need to go on a behavior changing program course. It's mandatory. You don't have the right to opt in. I mean, to opt out. You have to do it just to learn about the impact of your behavior on the victim. But not only that, to kind of understand your own behavior. Why am I doing this? The trigger factors, identify trigger factors. Actually, I reacted like this because I've seen this when I was a child. So that I think if we have strong perpetrator programs, that obviously will start to kind of end domestic violence.
What's the Drive partnership?
The Drive Partnership work with perpetrators where they put them on behavior changing programs. I think they've got a few perpetrator accommodations where they will house the perpetrator and just try to do some intensive work around their behavior.
So, in a way, if they've grown up with it, they're victims as well to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's learned behavior.
So,
You
dad
know,
dealt with his emotions by smacking mum. That's how I deal with it.
exactly. One of the clients that I was working with, he said to me, I've known violence since I was born. And it was quite powerful how he said it because he said his mum was in his dad used to abuse his mum. Every partner that his mum had would abuse his mum, and then he would get abused. So he said that violence, that was his way of communicating. That's all he knew.
Mm.
Someone hits him, he would hit them back. It's changing that behavior, you know. That's why I think there needs to be as well more work in schools with children that have been witnessing abuse within the household. You know, they could grow up to be abusers by default, but that's because they've been placed in that environment. They don't necessarily, where, we learn things, we pick up things from an early age. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. That's all they've known, you know?
Grief. We've opened a can of worms here, haven't we?
We have quite
It
deep, right?
is quite deep,
It's
isn't it?
quite heavy.
And what do you think now with, access to anything from, the kids with their smartphones now, they're able
Yeah.
to access content that we were never able to access.
I feel that TikTok, Instagram, I feel, you turn on your Instagram and you see someone getting attacked or someone getting stabbed and everyone's filming it. I feel we're creating a desensitized society. So when you look at the young people now, they're becoming really desensitized from stuff that we're like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. It's quite cringe worthy. It's quite emotionless. I feel that there definitely needs to be more regulations on social media, what's put up there. The algorithms need to be stopped. If something's violent, it needs to be removed immediately. At the moment, it's not really governed correctly. You can go and type in TikTok "man stabbed" and it's going to come up with loads of different situations where someone's stabbed. Your 12-year-old's got access to that. They're watching it desensitized. So if they see someone getting stabbed, it's nothing, it's normal. That creates, in a couple of years, we're going to have a big problem here because we've got people that are just no emotion.
And that obviously comes in with the pornography as well that is available
Yeah.
to them at such a young age. And
I
I remember,
think now I saw it was on the news a few weeks ago. So like porn websites now, before you didn't need to have age verification. Now you need to input your credit card details um, to verify your age. I mean, it's 2025. There's a big issue now with young people being addicted to porn. 13-year-olds addicted to porn. Why has it taken till 2025 for, these, um, for it to be mandated that, there needs to be age verification? It's ridiculous. It's in a good step. We're on the right path now. It's taken too long.
and I think all the kids can just bypass it anyway, from what I
It,
understand.
yeah, exactly. So it hasn't been thought out very well.
No, they could bypass it, and a 50-year-old man can't, takes an hour. So when I was at school, there would be fight, 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 and we'd all gather around and nothing would really happen. But now you do see them, they're all there with their phones uploading.
Yeah,
But surely if I upload content like that, I mean, I think I'm going to have to censor some of the words we've used in this so YouTube don't take me down. But these kids are able to upload these fights to TikTok and whatnot.
exactly. I don't understand why.
I don't use TikTok. I read the terms and conditions because it's obviously quite a good platform to be on. I read
Yeah,
the terms and conditions, and when I realized what access they had to my whole network at home, it just was something I was afraid of. I thought, no way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Technology is definitely really advanced at the moment. It's really advanced now, especially with AI as well.
Yeah.
That's quite, AI is a really, really good tool. Love it. Um, it can help you be quite efficient. Definitely, my workload has my work output has increased since using AI interventions. However, it's scary. Someone could take our images and then put us somewhere that we weren't. It is quite scary at the same
Yeah.
time.
How
Yeah,
is AI helping you with your interventions? Just because for me, when I get people complain now and they write me a wrong ranty email, and I can give that to AI and it turns it into a nice, concise email or summary points. How
yes,
are
that's
you
right.
using it? The
Yeah, the
same way.
same way. If I need to do a business plan, I'll put all the information. It just tidies up my documents. It helps me write emails in 2 seconds. So I'm able to work faster than rather than constructing an email. I do fear that I might be using it too much and I eventually forget how to use my brain.
Yeah, yeah, and I struggle to keep with that because I dictate my emails. Go right, dictate, blah 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 blah,
Yeah,
and then it
yeah.
writes it all out for me. And then whenever I have to use a keyboard, I'm slowing down. Yeah,
But that's because, we're always on the go. So we can use that as an excuse.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
When we used to work in pubs, my mental arithmetic was brilliant, and now
yeah,
can't do it.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so look, we've gone off of. There was something we were talking about in between calls about the great work your staff are doing, your guys are doing, and how you're supporting them. And I can't for the life of me think what it was. Do you remember?
No.
No.
Um, No.
Okay, I'll cut this bit out. Is there
Yeah.
anything you want to talk about?
No, that's it. I think we've covered everything.
Are you
Thank
sure?
you. Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll wrap it up. Okay, what I'll do, this has been a fabulous part 2. Thank you very much indeed, Sherrelle. Stay in contact and keep up the great work.
Definitely. Thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.